I was up at Church Butte. Anybody know where that is? It's on the trail from here on the freeway, but it's just off. It was where Brigham Young camped, and there was a program for the Wyoming Steak, and so you're going to hear a song in a couple of days by the Scout girls, and we were going to do that same song, and we were eating dinner and stuff, and one of the girls came over. We're supposed to practice ahead of time, and she came over, and I says, "Where's your friend?" She says, "She's right there," and there was a truck. She jumped in it, and it just squealed out. And I went, "What does that mean?" And I said, she said, "I guess she's not going to sing." So my truck's right over there. I was thinking about it, because I am not a singer, but I thought it would be important maybe to sing the song. I'm so impressed with all of you to be up here. You are right where it all happened. You are right where one of the greatest events that made us a people. And that's really cool about us, is that we're a people. We're a people with the priesthood that's been given to us, just about our Father's business. That's all we do. And that's such a great thing to happen. But as I look across the plains here, this is exactly what they saw. Peter Madsen said, he was one of the Willie Company pioneers, and he kept a journal. He's one of the two Danish group that kept a journal. And you think about the Danish that came over, most of them couldn't speak English. There was only a couple. One of them's name was Johan Amundsen. And I'm going to tell you a little about him in just a second. It's really, really important to me, and that just barely happened last week. But Peter Madsen kept his diary till September the 8th, 1856, and he stopped writing. And I always wondered why he stopped writing in the middle of this horrific event of these Indians killing these pioneers in another train. And so I went to the library and I found his diary, and he had, as far as I could tell, he had extra pages to write in. There's no reason he stopped. But he said some interesting things. One of them was really, really cool. He said, "We will gather experiences that will follow us into eternity." And that's an unbelievable statement for a farmer from Denmark coming across these plains right here, past Independence Rock, past Martin's Cove, and on up the road, with such a far journey, to say that the experiences he had would follow him into eternity. One thing I want to tell you, and the most important thing that came to me today, is our experiences, this experience right now will follow you into eternity. Those things that you do. I found out what true heroes were in studying the Willie Company. Somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was, "Well, have you known about your ancestors your whole life?" And I haven't. I've only known about it since 1997, which was a very important day for our family to find out about. But when we found out about it, we couldn't get enough of it. So anyway, I hope we all look up a little bit. There's antelope running around out there in the field, and kind of see what they saw. I just couldn't believe how beautiful these rocks are around Martin's Cove. The rock formations are just incredible. This area over here, as it slopes up the mountain with the grass, is incredible. So it's really great, and we think about the discomforts of coming up here. My wife Sheree and I talked about it many times, the discomforts of coming up here. And if you think what they went through, this is nothing, but it's really something, because it takes us away from the rest of the world for a little while. So I started thinking about the pioneers beyond this land, and I started thinking about what they thought when they got to Utah and what home meant to them. And they talked a lot of times about leaving their homes, and one thing before I go on, one thing that's really important was the fact that they gave credit to God for all things. And it says in the scriptures that he's only mad at us if we don't acknowledge his hand in all things. So I think we have to acknowledge his hand in the wind today, as much as I might not want to. And the hay fever I got really bad, which I might not want to. But I'm just so thankful to be here with you. So I'm going to play a song for you. I'm part of a group that has some really good singers. In fact, I think this song was on the CDs coming up, so it's really going to make me sound bad. But they're really good. I'm not. But the reason I want to do this song is called Utah. It's spelled E-U-T-A-W. And that's the old spelling of Utah. One of the old spellings. It's spelled like 3 or 4 different ways. That was one of them. And I wanted to write a song about what Utah meant to all of us. Since we became a people, since we have a home around the world now, Zion's around the world, but we have a home in Utah, especially this group right here. And as I studied it, I found such diverse culture and such unbelievable people moving forward. If you look at, I don't want to get political or anything, but Utah is not the only state that doesn't have gambling. I mean, buckle up, it's probably coming, but we hardly, a lot of us, compared to everybody else, hardly saw the recession. We've had surplus in our government and our state. We take care of each other, and that's what a people do. The people that are united under the gospel do. So that's a really cool thing. And so as I tried to write this, I didn't know how to do it. I looked around at Utah. I started looking in books at the pretty flowers and the mountains and all those sorts of things. And I had nothing, I couldn't come up with anything, which is usually the case with me. But then I read this poem by a Jesuit priest. And he was talking about God. And as he talked about God, he talked about his attributes, which is interesting for a Jesuit priest, right? But he put his attributes to those things around him in the world. And as you listen to the song, you think the song, it's called Dark Night of the Soul, and in the poem, you think it's about someone and their lover or their wife or their girlfriend or something, but this is a priest singing about God. It was so tender. And he described laying on the grass and seeing God's brow in the trees and those sorts of things. So I looked at that and I went, I wonder if I could steal that idea. And so I did. And I wrote Utah as a girl. And I always write to the feminine side of the world anyway. And so as I searched around, I realized I could probably never write it justice. No one can. You can't take a picture of that right now. Right now, you can't take a picture, take it home and show it to anybody and have them see what you're seeing right now. So I realized that. I realized how new it looked, our land and our freedoms. We wrote something one time that says, "Do not trust your good intentions, for they are never enough. Trust your willingness to act, even in the face of challenges. Consider all those that have gone before. Know the you that is now. For today we change the world and leave behind a gift redeemable to those dearest to our hearts." And to me, that says everything about what we're doing as a people, too, and spreading the gospel. So anyway, on with the song. So when I studied my ancestors, I had an ancestor in the Willie Company, Oldie Matson, and he died at Rock Creek Hall. We're going to be over there in a couple of days. And so I studied him really strong, and I studied his family as they went down to Sanpete County. And they got involved in an Indian war with a guy named Black Hawk. And I really struggled with Black Hawk because it was such a hard thing going through. And when I was over at the Independence Rock today, I saw a young Indian family going up, a Native American family going up to see it too. And I looked at them and they looked so American and they looked so cool and they were so excited about seeing these names. And so as I thought about the struggles that Brigham Young went through with the Saints and trying to live together with the Indians, Black Hawk was bloodthirsty, and I couldn't decide whether he was a terrorist or a freedom fighter or a great warrior and a great Indian chief. But one thing that happened that was so incredible, and if you ever read about the Utah's Black Hawk Indian War, you'll read about this. But he finally surrendered to Brigham Young. And by the way, I think Black Hawk was a Mormon. And when he surrendered to Brigham Young, Brigham Young didn't hang him or shoot him or put him in jail. He just met with him. And when he met with him, Black Hawk said, "What do you want me to do?" He says, "Well, I want you to go around and apologize to all those people you terrorized in every town." And this humble Indian chief went down through the towns of San Pete County and apologized. Usually there's an entourage that went in, you go to the church or the town, the center of town, and he would apologize. Incredible, humbling experience. And so I knew I had to write something about the Native American culture in there, and I stole Chief Joseph's statement too, you'll hear that. And then I had to put Brigham Young in there. I thought it was so cool. He was so sick, and he'd made this trip on the same trail that you're seeing now, maybe right where that antelope's walking through right there, because he was looking for a place that we could live our religion and worship God the way we saw fit, what was promised us in the Constitution. And he was sick when he drove in the valley. By the way, I found out my other great-great-grandfather drove him in the valley. So and I'm not saying this braggingly, because I want you to know every one of you have this particular story in your ancestry. Whether you came on a handcart, your ancestors a wagon, or a plane 2 weeks ago, it's all the same. Somebody had the courage to move forward and bring their family to freedom. I had a nephew of mine that said to me, "I don't understand." I was on a mission in Brazil, and my companion said, "Why is it that you were born in privilege, in a free country, in affluency, and as a member of the church?" That was his companion. And Jeff said to me, my nephew, he says, "I didn't know what to say to him." I said, what you should say to him is he is now making the sacrifice that my great-great-grandfather made the sacrifice, and you need to find out who each one of us is in that sacrifice line. You're the missionary that took the message to Ole Madsen. You're Ole Madsen that made the sacrifice for his family, or you're the recipient of the sacrifice down to a number of generations. And then, without making good choices, those generations can hurt and change things. So I put Brigham in there where he's going in the valley. And then I stole out of the scriptures, how beautiful are the feet upon the mountain of he who brings peace. In those days, when these pioneers were walking across these trails, they didn't know who was coming over that mountain. When they got to Salt Lake and Johnson's army was coming, they didn't know who was coming over that mountain. And that was the way it was until we had like NORAD and stuff, right? You didn't know who was going to come and take you out. So I think they put in the scriptures that connotation because they were excited about someone that would come over and bring peace, especially the feet of the Savior, who is the rescue of all of us. And anyway, without further ado, so how am I going to do this with the microphone? Yeah. Did I mention I'm not a singer? I mentioned the guitar can get out too real quick. Stay right there. I guess we're sitting in the car all day. You don't have to do. I have a lot of work stuff to do here. Take my hand and walk too fast down the trail of ages past. Quiet sounds and rhythm fall. Thunder's call, I wrote it down, never to get it. She looks so in the morning sun. Made no sense, struggle on, for his time is over. Dropped his head and humbly said, I'm sorry for all I have done with my horse and gun. I'll fight you no more forever. Hey, 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 hey. Stayed with her through the night to view the stars till morning light. Then we climbed, she took my hand on where angels land. I set my mind across the great beyond.